Hello, hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. And allow me to welcome you all you gods of English, members of the Blue Team. Allow me to welcome you to today's lesson. It's a special one. Does anybody know why? Can anybody guess why? Yes, you're all right. Today's a special day. Today is the last day of our mega revision. Next week, we get back to learning new stuff. So, with no more delay, let's get the last day of the revision session started. Gentlemen and ladies, of course, start your engines. Good. Now, before we get started, we'd better just have a quick look at Will to make sure that everything's clear. Okay. When we first met the idea of the future, we checked that we know how to talk about the general present. We use the present simple to talk about things which are always true. Do you remember? I'm sure you do. Now, we also know another way of talking about things in the present, don't we? What about the situations when we want to talk about things which are happening now, at the time of speaking? Which tense do we use to talk about those things? That's correct-a-doodle-doo. When we want to say what's happening now, when we're speaking, we use the present continuous tense. Is there anything we have to be careful of when we make a sentence with the present continuous tense? That's right. We make the present continuous by adding the ing version of a verb to the verb to be in the simple tense. This means we have to remember the forms of the verb to be. I am, you are, he, she and it is, we are, you are, and they are. Good. Now, when we're talking about things which are happening now, when we're using the present continuous tense, we also have to be a bit careful with the spelling of the ing form of the verb we're using, don't we? If the verb ends in e, we have to remove the e before adding ing. If the verb ends in vowel plus consonant, we double the last letter before adding ing. Okay. And what do we have to do if the last letter of the infinitive is an E? Well, if the last letter of the verb is an E, then we change the E to a Y before adding ing. Simple. Would you like to see that in a table, perhaps? Okay then, let's ask Mabel to help. Mabel, Mabel, willing and able, please show us that info here in a table. Okay, now we also know how to make sentences about the past, don't we? That's right. We know how to use the past simple tense. We know the past simple form of the verb to be. We know that when we make a sentence with the past simple version of the verb to be, the verb changes. In the present simple, the verb to be has got three forms: am, is, and are. We use am for I, is for he, she, and it, and are for you, we, you, and they. When we use the verb to be in the past simple, the verb form changes to was and were. Do you remember? In the past simple, the verb to be has got 2 forms, not 3. We use was for I, he, she, and it, and we use were for you, we, you, and they. Okay, good. Now, would you like to see that in a table? I bet you would, wouldn't you? Well, let's ask Mabel if she can help us, shall we? Mabel, Mabel, please help us out. We know you can do it. You're a frog, not a trout. Okay, great. Now, what else do we know about the different tenses? Well, we learned about using other verbs in the past simple too, didn't we? That's right. We learned the past simple version of the verb to be, and then we looked at using other verbs in the past simple tense. We remember that when we want to make a sentence about the past, we have to change the verb. If the verb is regular, like the verb to work, then how do we change the verb into the past simple form? That's right again. We add ed to the end of the infinitive. We learned that one fantastic thing about the past simple tense is the fact that all the forms are the same. We don't have to worry about changing anything. We can forget about the third person singular. We use the same form for every subject. If we look at the verb to work, in the present simple we have to remember to add s to the infinitive when we're talking about the third person singular. He, she, and it. But when we're using the past simple form of the verb to work, we add ed to the end of the infinitive, work becomes worked, and then nothing. I worked, you worked, he worked, she worked, it worked, we worked, you worked, they worked. It's all worked. Simple. Now, what about verbs in the past simple which don't just add ed? Do you remember? Well, if the verb ends in y, then we have to replace the y with ied. So tidy becomes tidied. I tidy my room every week. Yesterday, I tidied my room. Okay. And what about other changes we need to make in spelling? Well, if the verb ends in vowel plus consonant, then we double the last letter before we add ed. So the verb to stop becomes stopped, not stoped. Great! And on we go. One for all and all for one. Now, so we've looked at the present simple, the present continuous, the past simple, and now let's have a quick run through will. We use will to talk about the future in English. Will is incredibly easy to use. It uses the same form for all subjects. I will, you will, he will, she will, it will, you will, we will, they will. It's all will. All we do is select the personal pronoun we want, and then it's plain sailing. We don't have to worry about changes in spelling for the third person singular or anything like that. We just follow the subject with will and then add the infinitive. Simple, easy, easy as pie. Okay, So we know when we use will. It's for the future. And we know how easy it is to use it. All we have to do is start with the subject, I, you, Dave, Mary, then add will, and remember we normally prefer to use the short version, and then follow it with the infinitive without to. Would you like to see a table for will as well? Well, okay. Let's ask our favourite amphibian. Mabel, Mabel, you can do what no man can. Do it again, please. Show us a plan. Great! And so, on we go to the next level. Yes, all you devotees of Yoda, it's time to have our first look at going to. Bachinga bonga! Okay, so we already learned that we use will to talk about the future. But, we don't only use will to talk about the future. In some situations, will is perfectly okay. But in other situations, we need to use something else. One of those situations is when we're talking about a future plan. When we're talking about a future plan, we use going to. Simple as that. Okay, so let's have a look at going to. Now, I said that we use going to talk about future plans. This means that when I use going to, I already decided to do something. The decision was made in the past, but the action itself is going to take place in the future. Okay, great. Now, what do we need to know about the form of going to? How do we put a sentence together with going to? Well, it's quite simple, but we have to use the verb to be. We use the verb to be, am, is, are, and then we add going to, followed by a verb in the infinitive without to. So, what do we have to be careful about? That's right. We have to be careful with the verb to be. It changes for different subjects, doesn't it? So, if we're talking about ourselves, we use I am. If we're talking about you, then we use you are. If we're talking about the third person singular, then we use he, she, it is. And if we're talking about the plural subjects, we use are. We are, you are, and they are. Great! And so, our mega revision comes to a close, with another look at will and going to. Good! A good place to finish, as next week we're going to look at something else, and then we will return to the future in English, looking once again at how we can talk about the future in English. And don't forget that there's more English grammar to learn. We will meet more tenses, and we're going to learn more about how we can talk about the future and the present and the past too. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing parts of our lessons again. Remember that you can see all of our lessons and more. The vocabulary from the lessons is there as well at www.m5tv.hu. Okay, that's all from us here in the studio. We'll see you all again next lesson. So until then, have fun, relax, and get ready for some more English. Thanks for watching me, Gav Duncan, on M5. I'll see you all next week. Have fun. See you later. Bye.